What's up, Radiant Icons, and welcome back to Dare to Be Iconic, the podcast made for icons daring to be themselves. I'm your host, Amanda Policelli, and today is a very special episode because we are joined by one of my bestest and closest friends in the entire world, Meleena, for our first ever Everyday Icon episode. She's been there from the very beginning, seen me go through it all, and I couldn't think of anyone better to come on for our first tea time sesh in this everyday icon segment. So I know what you're probably thinking, Amanda, what is an everyday icon? An everyday icon is you, the Radiant Icon community. So I will be bringing on everyday icons who are daring to be themselves in their everyday lives. I hope you enjoy our conversation where we spill all the tea about girlhood, female friendships, fangirl culture, and honestly, how we figure out navigating our early 20s because it's a struggle, y'all, but we're doing it together. So, are you ready, Radiant Icons? Your tea time sesh is starting now. Meleena, welcome to the Dare to Be
Hi.
Iconic podcast. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, it's our girly chat
Mhm,
sleepover tea time sesh. So, Radiant
mhm.
Icons, if you are not watching this on YouTube, which I dare you to go subscribe now, but we have our wine out. Well, Meleena has her wine out. I have
I
water
do.
because I don't know
I
how long we'd
do.
be here if I had a glass
Hello.
of wine. But we are in our PJs, we have our stuffed animals, and we are ready to spill all the tea. But before we get into navigating our early 20s, adulthood, girlhood, literally every single thing,
Everything.
I have two things to ask you, Meleena.
Yes.
What does iconic mean to you? And how do you dare to be iconic in your everyday life?
I think really it just means being your most I'm gonna use your words. I can't help it. Your
I
most
love it.
authentic self, really. And like just being true to yourself and obviously like not trying to change who you are for any sort of thing, no matter the situation, and I guess like sticking to your guns and like holding that confidence that you know that you have and acting with confidence because you just have to trust yourself with what you're
Oof,
doing. That's all you can do. Like
that's the
there's no
word of
one telling you what to
2024.
do when you become an adult, so
Yes,
you just have to use
literally.
your own guidance, your own discretion, and believe in yourself. Really, I think that's what being iconic is, and acting with confidence, yeah.
I love that. You really hit the nail on the head with that trust word because that word
Yes.
keeps
Yeah,
popping up every single
yeah.
minute of the day for me. If you guys don't know, my word for 2024 is trust, and it has definitely
Good word, a good word.
a good word, but a very
Mhm.
hard concept to learn for me.
It
I don't
is.
know about you, Meleena, but like, oh my goodness, girl, when I tell
No, I
you
feel you.
trust has not popped up more in my life than in 2024. And it's
Really.
only like March. Literally, it's March when we're recording this.
Yeah,
Can you believe that? Like,
yeah.
maybe I'm psychic. I have no idea. But Meleena, how do you dare to be iconic in your everyday life?
Life these days is a lot different for me than what it was, like, 2 months ago. I go through, like, a lot of self-doubt and rethinking because
Mhm.
having just graduated, there's so much unknown. Like I said,
Yes,
it feels like I'm an actual adult now because now I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have a
literally.
plan right now. So, I guess just acting as iconic as I can every day would be with the self-love and self-care that I'm having to journey through now because I have so much time where I can actually focus on that and focus on
Mhm.
myself. So taking care of myself, my mental health, my physical health, I
Yeah.
think is how I'm able to act iconically because now I'm putting me first, you know?
Yes, you're on that choose yourself
Yes,
journey. Oh,
exactly,
I love the choose
exactly.
you journey. It's like literally the
Yes,
best. But that's
agree.
like such a good point
Mm.
that now congratulations, by the way,
Yeah,
on
thank you.
graduating. That's
Thank
such a
you.
big accomplishment. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank
If you
you.
guys don't know, Melina is like the mastermind, like the creative eye behind every photo you see on the Dare to Be Iconic website, my podcast cover art, like that is Melina. And I really wouldn't be
Ah.
where I am today without her like love and
Oh my
support.
gosh.
You're like one of my closest friends. And
I feel the same way. I'm
oh,
so flattered also, thank you.
of course. Oh my god, not
Yeah.
us already doing our little love fest so early
I know, I'm
on.
gonna cry. Keep going.
Hey, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be us if one of us isn't crying yet, like,
It's
to be
true.
honest with
It's
you.
true.
That's when you know it's real friendship.
Yeah, for real.
One thing you brought up, Melina, is that now as a recent, college graduate,
Mhm.
you're navigating adulthood for the first time in your life, like me as well. I mean, I am a little bit older than you, not by much, okay? Not by much. But
We're basically the same age.
basically,
And still,
honestly,
like,
everyone's the same age.
20-something-year-old teenage girls at
Yeah,
that.
literally, I feel like a teenage girl. But like the point where I'm trying to get at here, right, is like we feel like we're teenage girls because we're navigating adulthood for the first time in our lives. There's no one telling us what to do. And you had sent me this TikTok
Exactly.
earlier that really
Yes.
spoke to like where we are as young
Mhm.
adults in our early 20s. We're figuring it out for the first time. And yeah, it's like fun figuring it out, but it's also really, really hard.
It is.
So, like,
And
let's just
scary.
dive into that. Like,
Mhm.
we're in this early
Need
life
to mine for
crisis.
this. Yeah.
Yes. Like, we don't know what is going on. But then we have people who are older than us being like, oh, like, it's okay. You're going to figure it out. Like, oh, I don't need that right now. I need someone to literally hold my hand and be like, it is going to be okay. You are going
And
to
I
figure it
know
out.
it's hard to validate those
Yes.
feelings, be like, "I know it's hard."
Yeah. And I think what's the crazy thing
Mhm.
about it is that we're all just like young 20-year-old teenage girls just trying to be like adult women
Yep.
in this world that keeps telling us who we should be and how we should act like. So,
Mhm.
one
Preach.
thing for you, Melina, that I wanted to ask is how do you apply this concept of self love and self care while we're in the stage of really figuring out who we are when we really don't know where to begin?
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. It's also been, like I said, a journey myself that I'm having
Mhm.
to learn about myself, learn how to, like, just be okay with myself and also my thoughts. So
Yes.
it takes a lot of time, but it also you have to be just kind to yourself and allow yourself to take those steps and
Yeah.
understand that it's going to get time before things are good and figured out. So I think the most important
Yeah.
part for doing that is being kind to yourself.
Girl, from your lips to my ears. But my brain does not comprehend it because the amount of
I
times I
I know
tell
it's easy to
myself,
say, harder
right?
done.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so much easier said
Yeah.
than done. Like, we can be like, till we're blue in the face, oh, be kinder to ourselves, give ourselves grace. That is
Yeah.
the hardest thing ever. Like, I don't know about you, but I know I am definitely my hardest critic.
Mm.
Like, I beat
Oh,
myself
yes.
up so hardcore,
No, me too.
like,
Yeah.
it's
I'm
so
a
bad.
perfectionist also, but I've
Yeah.
never been the nicest person to myself. I think I am getting better about it, but that's the other thing. Like it's like everything else is going to take time to
Exactly.
adapt and change and become like grow into a better person basically because as they say, you're the one person that you're going to be with the rest of your life.
Oh my
It's just
god,
you
girl,
yourself.
yes.
Yeah. So, it
Yeah.
takes time.
It does take time, and I think what's so interesting about it, right, is we live in, like, a day and age where we have all these amazing, like, female role models, like
Mm,
Olivia Rodrigo. I know you and I love Olivia,
yes, an
and
icon, if you
right,
will.
she really is an icon, to
Yeah,
be honest. Oh
she
my
is.
goodness. One thing I keep going back on, like, with this conversation, right, we're talking about the topic of really navigating our early 20s and kind of just like figuring it out and like not adhering to the standards that society has for us, like how we should act, how we should look, so on and so forth. And Olivia is such an icon at that, right? Because we have
She
All
is.
American B. That scream that Olivia has in the middle of All American B, I have never felt anything more in my life
I
because that's
know.
every day in your 20s
A
is
female
internally
rage.
screaming and being like,
Mhm.
what are you doing? What is going on? So, one thing I wanted to really dive into with that is what would you say to your younger self at the point that you are right now when it comes to figuring it out and being an adult?
Yeah, I've actually been there's times where I've thought about it, recently.
Yeah,
Like, one thing, like, just off the bat is, like, I've always had, like, self-image, like, body issues
girl, me
because I've
too.
always been, I guess, on the heavier side, but seeing older pictures of what I looked
Yeah,
like before, I'm like, I was actually kinda skinny. I was still
yeah.
thick, but, like,
No, I
kinda
get
skinny, and
exactly
I
what
was
you're
like,
talking about. Like, our
imagine if
minds can be
my younger
so
self saw
mean.
me today, they'd be like, "Oh my god, what happened to you?
Yeah.
Are you"
No, literally. No, I feel that so hardcore. Like, I was thinking about that actually the other day as well, where I'm like,
Mhm.
what would Amanda 2 years ago, right? Like looking back, what would she think of her life now? And then me looking back at old photos, like specifically for me,
Mhm.
if you have followed the Dare to Be Iconic blog, Radiant Icons, 19 is an age that I mentioned multiple times because it's a very traumatic time in my life. Was it
19 is a
19?
big age for me too. I don't know what it is
Really?
about that
Was
year.
it?
Yeah. Mhm.
Wow.
That's
Wait,
when
I'm
I
not the
also
only one then.
No, that's when I broke up with my ex and got with my current
Really?
boyfriend, yeah. But that was a whole thing,
Oh my
you know?
God. Why is it at 19 we always have the shitty boyfriends?
I don't know. I mean, I was able to find my current boyfriend, so I'm glad,
Yeah.
but I guess 19 was that, like, turning a leaf over for me,
Yeah.
that
Okay,
age.
wait. Yes. I
Yeah,
think you're onto something, to be
yeah.
honest.
And also, Olivia Rodrigo, speaking of, she talks about being 19, like, in her last album, like, specifically 19.
Did you just like
I
crack
mean,
the
obviously,
code?
that's how old she was. Oh my god, and Adele, 19, her first album. Oh my god.
Stop. Melina,
Something about 19, yeah.
that's so interesting. For me, I
Mhm.
was so excited to turn 19 because it was my golden birthday. Because National Amanda
Oh,
Day is December 19th.
that's true,
So I was like,
yeah.
ooh, 19, like it's
That's
gonna be
so
like the
true.
best year. It was the most traumatic year of my life.
Even, like, the whole thing, like, was there anything at the beginning or end that
To be
was, like
honest with you, I look back at 19 and all I can think about is my first ex-boyfriend
mm,
and the pain that I had. And even though
dear
that
him.
relationship was 2 months, that 2 month traumatic relationship still follows me now 7 years
Yeah.
later. Like that's all that I remember 19 being. Like,
Mhm.
yes, did I meet my last ex-boyfriend as the one we know with the letter in the box at that time? Yes. But to be honest, all of 19 was healing from the trauma that my first ex left on me.
Wow.
So, yeah, I don't know actually. That's kind of crazy that
That I mean,
19.
the same thing for me because I
Yeah,
had broken up with my ex, like, soon after I turned 19, actually. So, yeah, I was processing a whole lot, and I also moved out that year.
that's right. You had a
Yeah,
really big year at 19.
that's true. I forget about
Wow.
that. I also constantly forget how old I am, though, so I guess that makes
That's
sense.
also so true. I thought my sister was what was when we were younger, I thought my sister was 11 for about 3 years. 'Cause she just, like, never grew up in my eyes, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that speaks to, like, where we are mentally, right? Like, for a while, I feel like maybe my growth was all stuck in me being 19 because of all the trauma that I had with it, and
Yeah,
I was learning
probably.
because I
That
really didn't
happens,
start
yeah.
living my life fully, I wanna say till 24, like, I know that was only last year, but 24 was, like, the best year of my life.
Yeah. No, it takes time. You were going from also a relationship like that to a new one right away.
Yeah,
It's hard not to lose yourself in the process. So it makes
yeah.
sense that you are just having come out of it and now taking the time to, grow and learn about yourself also. It makes sense.
Do you
I
think
feel
you also experienced that?
I feel like 19 in that year and even some of 20, I was still trying to find myself, like I was a bit lost. But I feel like now I'm much more realized in who I am, and this relationship is so much different than my previous one. So
Mhm.
I feel like I've still been able to retain my like identity and sense of self and my independence, which is something in my first relationship, also my first relationship
Yeah,
that I didn't know was so important.
yeah,
So I think having that hindsight and everything I learned, even though it was very sucky relationship,
yeah.
it was important and necessary for me. I think, unfortunately, I'm one of those, or at least I was, someone who needed to experience and learn the hard way because I had so many people telling me,
Yeah.
you know, that, like, this isn't right, you don't deserve this, blah, blah, blah. But I had to learn the hard way.
You had
But
to
it,
see
it
it for
stuck.
yourself,
It
though.
stuck.
No,
Yeah.
I 1,000%
Mhm.
understand where you're coming from with that. Like, as we all know, well, you know what? I'm just gonna spill the tea about it because why not? This is tea time, right?
Spill the
You may
tea.
wanna pour
Yes.
another glass of wine at that point, Melina. I had so many people tell me, specifically my mother,
Mm.
that
Yep,
my
me too.
it's always my lovely mother, um, telling me that both my ex-boyfriends she was not a fan of at all. She did not like them from the get-go. eh,
Something about
yeah.
they do have their intuition in
They
check,
do,
though.
and I hate that.
I
Every
hate it
You
too.
know, my
They're never
therapist would
wrong.
always tell me, so I would be in my therapy appointment,
Mhm.
and I would be telling her about my life, right? And I would be like, "Oh, my dad said this and my mom said this." They were always right. And she goes, "Don't tell them that because 'cause they'll get a big ego, but maybe you need to listen to your parents because you just wanna fix your problems because you
Mhm.
wanna feel good about yourself." That's literally what she told me. She said, "Sometimes you create this chaos for yourself because you wanna fix the problems and then pat yourself on the back when you've done a good job in cleaning them up." And
Oh, wow.
I said, "Wow, call me out." No, I love her,
He
literally
did
love
call
her,
you out,
but
for
she called
real.
me out. She called
Yeah.
me out. Yeah.
Sometimes we need to hear that. Sometimes we need that tough
Oh,
love.
no, she definitely
Yeah.
calls me out every single time. She goes, "Amanda, what are you doing? What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, thank you so
I
much."
see you.
No,
She
she
sees
literally said,
into
"I
your
see you,
soul.
stop." She said, "Listen to your parents. Maybe listen to your gut too while you're at it." Because
Oh, that's another one
I knew that my
that I
first
did not
ex was
do.
not the one for me. I knew it, but I stayed because I was scared of being alone, because I didn't
Mm,
know who I was, and I just wanted someone,
yeah,
and he was the
I hear
first
you.
one to give me attention, so I was in the relationship,
I feel that.
you know?
Honestly, I do. No, it's also such a hard time. Being a teenage girl is never easy, and I don't think it ever will be, but it's so easy to feel vulnerable and alone, and to feel wanted also, like, it's just
Yeah.
natural, you can't help it. I don't consider him my first boyfriend, but I did have a boyfriend that was, like, I think a month or 2 long, and I didn't
Okay.
really like him, but I ended up boyfriend and girlfriend, and I ended up breaking up with him after I realized, like, "I don't really like you like that."
Go you.
I wonder what it's like to have a crush, because at that point, I never really liked anyone.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
girl, I'll give you a master class. I'm really good at crushes, especially celebrity crushes, if we can't
Oh,
tell.
celebrity ones, I
Oh, yeah, that's right.
got it.
You're a K-pop girly. Oh, what how can I forget?
Yes, ma'am. My
Which
boys.
leads me to
I'm
girlhood.
serving right now. Mhm.
Oh my gosh, girl, please. We're gonna talk about the boys. We're talking about One Direction for me.
Oh my
Ooh,
god.
One Direction ever comes back, I will literally
Mhm.
drain my whole entire life savings. Like, I
Oh my
literally
gosh.
don't care.
Feel that. Me and BTS are gonna meet
Oh,
in
yeah.
2025 when they have their reunion tour.
Meleena, I'm
Mm.
gonna be so happy for you when that happens.
Me
Like,
too.
you deserve it more than anyone I've ever known in my entire life. Like, you deserve to see them and
Thank
meet
you.
them.
Thank you.
Like but, like, that brings me to girlhood, right? I have this theory because as we all know, radiant icons, I love Formula 1 so much. No
Yep.
one would have ever
Mhm.
suspected it, to be honest with you.
I really didn't. I remember
Yeah.
when you told me
Really?
too, I was like, "Wow, really?"
You were like, "Oh, what
But
has
it
she
made
gotten
sense
herself
that the
into?"
show did it.
Yeah, it
It was
did.
the
It
show
really
that
did.
really
I started
yeah.
because of DTS, and when
Mhm.
you start watching it, Melina, because you should, you will feel the same exact way as I do,
It's
and
gonna
I
be
will
a
be a very
rabbit
happy girl.
hole, downward spiral.
It will. So, where I was going with this is I have a theory, okay? I am convinced that F1 girlies now were 1D girls in the past.
I actually think you might be right.
That's what I'm
'Cause
saying. I
the
have had this theory for so long, Melina. I just wanna let you know.
I mean, it makes sense because, like,
Right?
fandom culture is, as we know, something very unique, but not everyone experiences, which is it baffles my brain. Like, I feel like
Right?
everybody
That's what I'm
should
saying,
be
but I
part of
think
a
it's
fandom
such
at
like
one point.
what is it, like an impactful part of the girlhood
It is.
experience.
It really is.
Like, it just gives you community.
I think a huge part of the fandom culture is having that community because all of you just have, like, shared interests, and you can talk about it, and then it can blossom into something else,
And
like
I think it's at such
friendship.
a pivotal age in our lives, right? Because when I think back
Exactly.
of it, right? One Direction came out when I was in 7th to 8th grade,
Mm.
and that's, like, tween years, right?
Yeah, that
We
sounds about
want
right.
that sense of community. We want to feel like we belong, but we also want something to, like I'm a big fan of Delusion over here, okay?
Like,
I
just
really
obsess
enjoy it.
over, it's
Yes,
fun.
we want something to obsess over, we want
Yeah,
something to have our brains just, like, have that little piece of escapism,
the
right? We wanna
serotonin.
be living in Delulu. I didn't know what
Mhm.
Delulu was back then, I do now, but I definitely was living in delusion my
Yeah.
whole entire life. But I think One Direction started, right, when I was in 7th to 8th grade, and that is such a pivotal time where you're figuring out who you are, right? All these changes are going on in your body, and you're like, "What the heck is going on?
Mhm.
Like, what am I doing?" And then now, right? The new wave of female F1 fans, they're all in majority of them, I shouldn't say all, are in their early 20s.
Oh,
In
wow.
your early 20s, you have the key, you're unlocking it to adulthood,
Mhm.
and you're in that same
This is
space
true.
as you were when you were a tween, figuring out this new phase of your life, this new chapter of your life. So you
Yeah,
want a sense of belonging, you want a sense of community, you want something that makes you excited,
exactly.
where you can connect with others.
That just made me think of something else, and we were talking about it, another time was, the idea of a third location. So a third location is somewhere you go to that's not work or your home, basically.
Mhm,
Um, so it's somewhere you can go to de-stress, but it's the most important part of it is also that community. So it's like almost a regular place where you can go to relax, but also see people that you might see like every time that you go there. For
yes.
example, like a library is what happens to be the third place for a lot of people these days because just because of the crazy busy life that everyone
Mhm,
seems to be living. For me, it's also hard because I work remotely and at home. So
same.
my first and second place are the same place. So now
Yeah.
my third place has become like the movies. I go to the
You
movies
really do love the movies, like,
so
every time
much.
I text you,
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm at the movies." Like,
Yep, but a third place is somewhere you can go that's not home or work and where you can meet people and foster relationships, shared interests, and just do your own thing.
do you think now the 3rd place would be social media for a lot of people?
Exactly, that's what I was getting at, yeah.
Okay.
So
Same
social media and
wavelength.
the
I love
internet
it.
has become the third location for almost, like, all of us, especially younger generations,
Yeah.
millennials, Gen Zs, and Gen Alpha. We're not even gonna talk about Gen
Oh,
Alpha
please
or them,
don't.
I feel so bad. They're chronically online, but anyways. Yeah, social media and the internet has been the 3rd place for so many of us, and I know TikTok is probably a big one for me personally. TikTok and
Same.
then Twitter, like, right underneath
Oh,
that,
I can't do Twitter.
but yeah, that's another tying into the fandoms, like, that's where they find a lot of people find their community because it's become, like, that 3rd place.
Why are we geniuses? Like, I just have to say, why are we geniuses? No, you're
Yeah.
1000% right, like, I feel like specifically for the F1 community, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, TikTok, like, duh. But then I also feel like and this one is a surprising one, but LinkedIn. The women
Really?
motorsports community in LinkedIn is
Mhm.
poppin', okay?
Really?
Like,
Wow.
the girlies are on LinkedIn creating F1 content,
Period. Period.
right? Who would have
I love
thought?
that.
I love it.
That's actually pretty cool.
It
'Cause it's
is,
like
it's
it
so
is a
nice.
place for networking, more so professional, but it's really cool that people can go there to find people with similar interests, like, I feel like what Twitter is almost like, or what you it
Mhm.
used to be
Yeah.
X.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Twitter's an interesting one now, but LinkedIn,
Yeah.
honestly, the more I've been posting on LinkedIn, Melina, the more I've realized how, like, how good of a platform it actually is. Honestly, it's such a vibe because people are just at least maybe the girls our age that are on
Mhm.
there, like, we all just, like, wanna make our dreams come true, and we all just wanna support each other, so
That's
everyone's
true.
just,
I
like,
do see a
so
lot of support
nice.
on LinkedIn whenever I do go on, and
Yeah.
that's nice. I feel like most of the time it's fake, the
Yeah.
support, because 'cause they're just, like, trying to post and be as active on there as possible, but it's still a much nicer alternative than, you know, hate and trolling, so
So we talked about girlhood, we talked about figuring out shitty relationships, navigating our 20s.
Mhm.
But now let's talk about the power of female friendship. Now, I don't know about you, but I genuinely feel like at this stage in my life, my female friendships have been the most fulfilling relationships I've ever had in my life so far.
Really?
Yeah, I
That's
feel like
really
I
good.
learned so
Yeah.
much from my group of girlfriends.
That's true, I do feel that too, and it's interesting to see as your, like, maybe older friendships
Yeah.
change and grow as you both grow older and, like,
Mhm.
life is changing, circumstances are changing, but it's really interesting to see how things will hold you together, and I think even
Yes.
if it's long distance, you know, if both sides are actively trying and communicating, it can be so, so fulfilling, and it's so important, those female friendships.
It's really like the girl groups, like the girlfriends that you have, whether they're new or old, that really get you through your hardest moments. Like When
Oh,
I
yeah.
went through my well, I guess both breakups, right? Like, the amount of outpouring love and support that I had from everyone, like, I remember you showing up to I was working at a theme park here in Orlando
Mhm.
as a performer, and, like, I remember you showing up and how much that made my night.
Aw.
Like, it was such a hard time for me, I didn't know
I
what was going
remember.
on,
I
and,
remember
like,
that.
you showed up, and I think you were trying to surprise me, but then you were like, "I need your set time, so please set me
Yeah.
down." Yeah, but, like, it's just crazy things like that, or, like, even throughout Melina, like, our friendship, which is something I'm so grateful for, is how you've
Me too.
always shown up. Don't make me cry, Melina, I'm
Oh my
gonna
god.
cry. You always make me cry, but, like, every time I think of our friendship, I think of how you've always been there for me through thick and thin, and how
Yeah.
you've always supported me through everything. And it's friendships like yours that remind me that no matter how I feel, whether I'm like on top of the world or I'm like
Oh, I'm
really
gonna cry, god.
depressy and all that, not us tearing up. If you're not watching the YouTube version, you are really missing out on the little glimpse of tears that are showing up in our eyes.
Yep.
But it reminds me how your girlfriends really can get you through anything, and that shows you who your true friends
Oh,
are,
I feel that so
you
heavily.
know?
They're just, like, necessary. I mean, we're social creatures and all that, but
Yeah,
female friendships, like, they really those real friends will be there for you no matter what, and it's so hard, especially with something like a breakup, especially your first one or a bad one. Like, you just need your friends around you to make that time easier and for them someone to lean on during that time.
yeah.
And I remember also my breakup, how important it was to have my friends around me, not just to distract me, but, show me that, like, things are just gonna be okay. I know, they're invaluable, they really are. I know we're gonna stay friends for, like, ever. I don't see us ever
Duh, you better not leave
going
me.
our separate
I'm gonna
ways.
find you. No, I'm
Exactly.
you're stuck
Exactly.
with me now, Melina, forever and always. It's like
Same,
Taylor
girl.
Swift.
We're gonna grow into old aunties, like rich aunties,
Duh, you know it.
traveling.
I hope so. And we're trying, okay? We're trying so hard for the rich auntie life.
Yes.
But not to be too sappy, but really, like, the adoration that I have for my friends and the love I have for them and the way they have reciprocated it back has really proven to me that the love I give out in the world is being received and that I do deserve to receive it back. And I think that was always
Exactly.
something that
Mhm.
I struggled with, especially in my first 2 relationships. I don't know why I'm saying first 2. I've only dated 2 boys in my entire life. But, like, my 2 relationships, I
Yeah.
struggled with that concept, right, of feeling like I was enough, feeling like, "Do I deserve to be loved?"
Mhm.
I think through my female friendships and lots of therapy, I've realized that I do deserve love and that it is possible for me to be loved and accepted for who I am fully.
Exactly, yeah, you bring up such a good point because the I feel like, we have our family and then we have the friends, which is, like our chosen family.
Yeah,
So getting that validation and that love from our friends is what like our first experience of another type of love that's not just familial. So
yeah,
I think it's so, so important the kind of friends that you have. If you have good friends, you're just so blessed because that's a love unlike any other kind. Like, they're gonna love you unconditionally.
yes, that's
And
the word we've been looking for this
yes.
entire time was unconditional love.
Yes, yes, unconditionally. And those are the truest friends that you'll have, that they'll stick with you through thick and thin. They really
Now,
do.
Melina, before we wrap up our tea time sesh, I was
Yeah.
wondering if you have any iconic insights that you want to leave with the Radiant Icon community before we finish spilling all the tea.
One of the things I lacked in really growing up and that I could have used more was love for myself and also believing in myself, like trusting myself, like how we
Mhm.
talked about earlier, trust. I think there's too many times where I didn't believe or listen to myself. I needed to listen to my gut and trust my instincts.
Mhm.
And I would brush aside a lot of things that I felt deep down or like things that I knew were wrong or weren't right or I should be doing this or that. And I would kind of just ignore it. I think I should have told my I would tell myself and I would tell other people to really listen to yourself, like, trust your gut, 'cause you know what's up, like,
Yeah.
even if you can't see it right then and there, if you have a feeling about something, really just listen to yourself.
All right, Radiant Icons, that is our tea time sesh for today. I hope you enjoyed our first episode in the Everyday Icon segment featuring my bestest friend in the entire world, Meleena. Meleena, thank you again for sharing your time and spilling all the tea with myself and the Radiant Icon community. If you liked today's episode, I dare you to go follow me on Instagram and connect with me on LinkedIn, as well as checking out Meleena's social pages, which are linked in the show notes below. All right, Radiant Icons, remember, dare to be iconic, and I will see you next time.